Scott, you're a successful guy. You're in a great role and seat now, but like, what's it like in the moment if you feel like you're going lateral or even down? Because we talk about it on the podcast sometimes, but like in the moment, it's probably not easy.
No, definitely not. I mean, I've probably taken on maybe 2 lateral moves within my career for a couple of reasons. One, my prior boss really believed that I had a skill set that would translate into another role. And at first, I remember the first time that happened, I had to take a real step back and go, is this a demotion? Like,
Yeah.
why would you do this to me? And he was selling me on the idea of, no, but I need you here. We have a problem that I think only you can solve. You have a special set of skills and I really need them here. And it took me about 30 days to think about it. And he kept saying, what are you waiting for? Take a calculated risk. And that word calculated was really helpful because just taking risk without thinking about it didn't really sit well with me. I mean, I like taking risk, but actually the word calculated really resonated. So I took a calculated risk and I took on the assignment that he asked. And honestly, if I didn't do that, it would not have set me up for my other career moves because that calculated risk then demonstrated I was willing to put myself out there, be vulnerable, try something new, make some mistakes, but also have some successes. And putting myself out there really set me up for other opportunities. But it was definitely not an easy, sure, I'll just shrug my shoulders and do that because, like you said, taking a step back and going, what is it about me that they don't like in my current role? And you go negative, but I had to really start thinking positive. He sees something that maybe I don't see that translates here. So instead of thinking negative, think more positive. And so it was a really interesting pivot for me to start really believing in myself versus criticizing. And I can certainly be a harsh self-reflector and self-criticizer, but it was a really interesting point. Somebody believed in me. And because of that, you give it 125%.
I like to say there's no worse critic of CJ than CJ. And when because it's happened to me before too, that I'm going to move from one position to another and someone's going to backfill what I was doing. And maybe they're even brought in at a higher title than I was at. It's human nature to be like, am I not good enough? What did I do wrong?
Yeah, it is definitely human nature. And I'm with you. I am my worst critic and I do beat myself up quite a bit. I talk to myself a lot, which is just very funny to watch when people are videotaping it.
The Bob Dole effect.
Oh my God. I love that. The Bob Dole effect, 100%. But I think the thing that, that has gotten me through this is a couple things. One, no job is going to just be given to you. I got fortunate enough that somebody asked me to think about taking a role, but you actually have to put yourself out there and take a risk. Because if you just think you're going to get a job and you think it's just yours without actually fighting for it, I think you're in for a long day at the office.
That is so powerful. Can you say more about this? Because I think there are a lot of people who say they want things, but they're not willing to like put themselves out there to go and get it.
I think it's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is and I'll reflect even on my first opportunity of when I thought I was going to be the best candidate to become CFO and I was the second choice. Just because you're in the pecking order does not mean there is a natural succession. You actually have to put your best foot forward. And to me, what I learned was put yourself out there and be proactive about it and actually deal with the consequences of maybe coming in second or reap the rewards of coming in first. But no matter what, it's a win. If you don't put yourself out there at all, the way I look at it now is it's lose-lose. Because I didn't take the risk. There was no calculated risk at all. I wasn't thinking about it. And I was afraid to put myself out there because maybe I'll get some feedback that I don't want to hear. But in reality, not hearing it does yourself a disservice. So to me, when the opportunity arises for anybody who's thinking about a career opportunity, I think you got to put yourself into the mix, best foot forward and try, because you'll only evolve in a good way by getting that feedback. Not getting it at all, you're actually hurting yourself.
Yeah. And by having one foot in the door, one foot out, it shows that you're hedging. And I think that the person choosing, it's like the tyranny of being picked. They can tell if you're not fully in.
Agreed. And the fact that you chose to be in, even if you don't get the job, now shows you have interest in progressing. So now the next time a role becomes vacant, they might actually see CJ or Scott or anybody else knocking at the door going, surprise, surprise, CJ's interviewing for this job. Awesome to see you in the queue. As opposed to, I wonder what makes Scott tick. He didn't apply for this job. He just is sitting there. So I think there's a lot of that thinking that goes into place about what makes somebody tick. And I think a lot of it goes back to being your own worst self-critic. I don't want to hear the negative. The human brain is generally wired to be negative, but you have to deal with it and learn how to cope and then turn it into a positive and appreciate the feedback versus being critical of the feedback.
Run the Numbers is a mostly LLC production. Yelling an intro by Fat Joe. Artwork by some AI thingamajig. Podcast and video editing is done by Cleancast at cleancast.io. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to be business or investment advice. It's the sole opinion of me, a guy who feeds his dog too much ice cream and has a history of net operating losses, lol. If you like this podcast, please hit subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And also check out mostlymetrics.com. That's my newsletter where I explore business models and financial metrics. Thanks for riding with me. Share this with your friends. Peace.